funniest thing you've ever seen at a funeral? My grandpa Teddy died at 86 years old on a Tuesday morning in his sleep. He was the kind of man who thought everything was funny. Stubbed his toe, funny. Burnt his toast, funny. Flat tire in the rain, funny. He spent his whole life making people laugh, and most of the time he was the first to laugh. Nobody could stay mad at him. Not even my grandma Ruthie, and she tried harder than anyone. When we went to the funeral home to make arrangements, my mom Isla sat down with the director and started going over the details. The director was a very serious man in a dark suit who spoke quietly and kept his hands folded. He let my mom talk for about 5 minutes about flowers and music and what Teddy would wear. Then he stopped her. He said he was sorry, but he needed to let her know that Teddy had already made his own arrangements. My mom looked confused. The director opened a drawer and pulled out a manila envelope with Teddy's name on it. He said Teddy had come in about 3 years ago, sat down in that same chair, paid for everything in full, and left very specific instructions for exactly how his funeral was supposed to go. He said Teddy told him that under no circumstances was any family member allowed to change anything. My mom asked what the instructions were. The director said he wasn't allowed to share them ahead of time. That was one of the rules. My mom looked at me. I looked at my Uncle Benji. Benji just shrugged and said that sounds about right. Nobody argued. If Teddy wanted something done a certain way, it was going to be done that way whether he was alive or not. The funeral was on a Friday. About 90 people showed up. The church was full. Everyone was in black. It was quiet. The director walked up to the front and said he had been asked to read a letter from the deceased before the service began. He put on his glasses, opened a piece of paper, and started reading. The letter said, "Hello everyone. If you are hearing this, it means I am dead," which is very inconvenient because I had plans this weekend. The director read it with a completely straight face. A few people in the back started laughing. My mom covered her mouth. The letter said, "I want to thank you all for coming out today. I know some of you drove a long way, and I want you to know I would not have done the same for you." The director kept reading without any emotion at all. That made it funnier. The letter said, "I have a few requests for today. First, I don't want anybody crying. I lived 80-something years, ate whatever I wanted, and never once went to the gym. I won. Second, the blue recliner in my living room does not go to Benji. I know he's been eyeing it for 10 years. It goes to my neighbor Phil because Phil never once asked me for it, and that's the kind of respect I appreciate." My Uncle Benji dropped his head and started laughing so hard his shoulders were shaking. His wife had to put her hand on his back. Third, I need someone to go to my house and clean out the second shelf of the hall closet before my daughter finds what's in there. I am not going to say what it is, but she will know when she sees it, and I would prefer to maintain my reputation. My mom turned bright red. She looked at the ceiling. People in the pews were losing it. Fourth, I want to apologize to my wife Ruthie, who is probably sitting in the front row right now looking beautiful. I am sorry I never told you this, but I was the one who backed into the mailbox in 2011. I blamed it on the kid down the street, Douglas. If you're here, I owe you an apology too. My grandma Ruthie was sitting right there in the front row. She closed her eyes and shook her head slowly and said, "I knew it." She said it out loud in front of everyone. The whole church heard her. That was probably the hardest I've ever laughed in my life. Fifth and finally, when this service is over, I want everyone to go to Benji's house for the reception. Not my house. Benji's. I already ordered the food and had it delivered to his address. There should be about 40 pizzas arriving at his front door at exactly 1 o'clock. You're welcome, Benji. My Uncle Benji stood up in the middle of the church and said, "Are you kidding me right now?" His wife pulled him back down. The director folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. He looked at the room and said those were the words of Theodore Ashe. Then the actual service started, but nobody could hold it together. When we got to Benji's house, there was a pizza delivery truck in the driveway. Not a car, a truck. The driver was going back and forth from the back of the truck to the front porch carrying stacks of pizza boxes 4 and 5 high. Benji was standing on his front porch